엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
한국에 오면 먹어야죠.
먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Coming up on Arirang News. Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol, during talks with his Chinese counterpart Wang in Beijing, said different opinions shouldn't develop into conflict between South Korea and China. Wang's response was that difficulties have grown between the two recently, which China doesn't want. Regarding South Korean online platform giant Naver facing pressure from the Japanese government to sell its shares in Line Yahoo, South Korea's presidential office warns that it'll strongly and firmly deal with any unfair measures against Naver. Doctors revealed to the public the government supporting data submitted to the court regarding the need for an increase of 2,000 to the medical school admissions quota, arguing it is insufficient. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We start in Beijing, where South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol is holding talks with his Chinese counterpart, Wang. Cho says momentum for cooperation should continue, to which Wang responded that the two should work together without interference. The conversation comes at a critical time, seeking new momentum in Korea-China relations. Our correspondent Kim Jung-sil reports.
South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol on Monday met with his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi in Beijing. In his opening remarks, Wang Yi said the two countries established each other as strategic partners as early as 2008, giving each other more important diplomatic positions. But he pointed out that difficulties and challenges have increased since then, which is not in line with the common interests of either country. Wang proposed the two countries adhere to the basic tenets of the diplomatic ties and work together without interference. Earlier in the day before leaving for Beijing, South Korean Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol expressed his hopes in meeting with Wang.
This is an important first step in creating new momentum in South Korea-China relations. It's an important opportunity to revitalize strategic communication between the two countries amid a tough geopolitical environment. I hope to discuss ways to promote bilateral relations and issues on the Korean Peninsula and other regional and global matters.
When asked if he would raise the issue of China's forced repatriation of North Korean defectors, Minister Cho responded as follows.
The issue is an important concern of our government, so of course I will raise it and listen to what China has to say.
Other key issues were also related to North Korea.
North Korea's nuclear issue is our biggest security concern. It is also an issue that China has to play an important role in. So it will definitely be discussed as one of the key issues.
It's likely the two also discussed a possible trilateral summit between Seoul, Beijing, and Tokyo later this month. This is the first time in 6.5 years for a South Korean foreign minister to visit Beijing. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
As South Korea's online platform giant Naver has been facing pressure from the Japanese government to sell its shares in Line Yahoo, the company behind Japan's popular messaging app Line, criticism has emerged. The presidential office, for its part, has vowed to take all possible measures for the interests of the Korean firm. Our Moon Hae-ryun explains.
The South Korean government has spoken up to support Naver as it faces foreign pressure to sell its shares in Line Yahoo. Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Sang Tae-eun briefed reporters on Monday afternoon about the government's current stance and future plans to assist Naver with the issue.
The government's response has so far reflected Naver's position as much as possible and will continue to support Naver with any future developments.
He stated that the government has been in communication with both Naver and the Japanese government and is waiting for the firm to make its stance clear to provide as much support as possible. Last Friday, Naver released an official statement saying that it was currently undergoing discussions with SoftBank to obtain the best result possible for the company, and the possibility of selling its shares was on the table. After a data leak from the messaging app Line last year, the Japanese government directed its operator in March to review its capital relationship with Naver to prevent it from happening again. Line Yahoo is mostly owned by A Holdings, which is a joint venture with equal stakes between South Korea's Naver and Japan's SoftBank, the firm that has been leveraging Tokyo's pressure to reduce Naver's control by slashing the South Korean firm's equity. Seoul has been called on to respond to the situation because Naver lacks communication channels with the Japanese government, whose moves have widely faced criticism as Naver is responsible for most of Line's technology. Before the briefing, the Ministry of Science and ICT stated last Friday that it regrets the pressure placed on Naver by Tokyo and will respond firmly and forcefully to any discriminatory action against South Korean firms. It also pledged support for measures to strengthen information security at the company to address the user information leaks, should the firm wish to continue holding its stake in Line Yahoo. But on Monday, the firm's union spoke out against Naver's possible divestment of its stake in Line Yahoo, adding that the firm needs to protect the technology and know-how of its workers that have gone into building Line. 문혜련, Arirang News.
President Yoon has ordered the creation of a senior secretary role to help tackle the nation's low birth rate. That's according to presidential spokesperson Kim Soo-kyung on Monday, following the president's weekly meeting with his senior secretaries. An official added that the top office will be reaching out to experts and scholars in the field to create the role as soon as possible, calling the situation one of the biggest problems that affects the sustainability of the nation. This also comes as President Yoon announced that he'll push for a new ministry to tackle the issue, with the minister also holding the Deputy Prime Minister for Social Affairs role. According to Statistics Korea, the country's total fertility rate in the fourth quarter of 2023 was 0.65. The new rival floor leaders of the ruling People Power Party and the main opposition Democratic Party of Korea held an official meet and greet at the National Assembly on Monday. The PPP's Chu Kyung-ho visited Park Chan-dae of the DP at his office for the closed discussion, lasting around 10 minutes. While no official announcements were made, they acknowledged the importance of active communication between the political parties in achieving legislative goals, sharing their desire to meet every week. This was the first meeting between them, both soon-to-be third-term lawmakers elected to the floor leader position earlier this month. Moving on to the medical dispute in the country. Doctors revealed to the public the government's supporting data submitted to the court regarding the need for an increase of 2,000 to the medical school admissions quota, arguing it is insufficient. An Sung-jin has the latest.
With the Seoul High Court set to rule this week on whether the medical school quota has to be enforced, the medical community disclosed to the public on Monday the evidence submitted by the government to the court. The government last week submitted approximately 50 items of documented evidence to support its decision to increase the quota. This included research reports which were used as a basis for the quota number, as well as meeting records from the Medical School Quota Allocation Committee. The medical community is arguing that the meeting to make the decision was too brief, lasting just an hour, and was nothing more than a formal act to confirm the number brought by the government. This was further elaborated during a press conference held on Monday afternoon as the chairman of the Medical Professor Association of Korea, Kim Chang-soo, expressed his shock as there were no more than 3 reports used to back the government's position. The Medical Professor Association of Korea and the Korean Academy of Medical Sciences argue that after evaluating the documented evidence, there is not enough evidence to support the medical school quota expansion to 2,000. However, the government reiterates that the number was finalized after various discussions. The Prime Minister elaborated on this during a Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters meeting on Monday.
Revealing evidence is interfering with a fair trial to pressure the judiciary by swaying the public opinion. The government decided to increase the quota number based on research that there would be a shortage of nearly 10,000 doctors in 2035.
This comes as medical students, professors, and trainee doctors filed an application with the Seoul High Court to suspend the enforcement of the quota expansion. After reviewing the submitted materials, the Seoul High Court will make its decision by the 17th. This decision will be pivotal in the conflict between the medical school and the government. If the application is accepted, it will put the brakes on the increase for next year. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Turning to the war in the Middle East. The White House says it is discussing with Israel strategies to eliminate Hamas in Rafah without initiating a large-scale ground invasion. This development follows Prime Minister Netanyahu's reaffirmation of Israel's commitment to its ongoing military effort. Our Shin Se-byuk reports.
The United States and Israel are exploring strategies to eliminate Hamas in Rafah without resorting to a large-scale ground invasion. According to the White House, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan had a phone conversation on Sunday with Israeli National Security Advisor Chaki Hanegbi, discussing alternative actions to defeat Hamas throughout Gaza. Sullivan reiterated President Joe Biden's long-standing concerns about a potential ground invasion that could result in massive civilian casualties. Hanegbi, in response, gave his assurances that Israel is taking U.S. concerns into account. The talks came following Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's video message released on Sunday, reaffirming Israel's commitment to continue to fight.
Keep going until victory, and that's how we will do it. The spirit of the people, with God's help, will continue to lift us up in the fateful challenges that are still ahead of us and that we had in our 76 years of independence.
Speaking at a Yad Labani ceremony for fallen soldiers held in Jerusalem, Netanyahu said that they have completed about half of the war, but also said they are committed to completing this sacred task as it is the only way to defeat Hamas. On the same day, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken shared his thoughts on a recent report by the State Department on Israel's use of weapons sent by the U.S. after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th.
We don't have double standards. We treat Israel, one of our closest allies and partners, just as we would treat any other country, including in assessing something like international humanitarian law and its compliance with that law.
While the report, which was submitted to Congress last Friday, indicated that Israel may have violated international humanitarian law, Blinken highlighted the difficulty of coming to that conclusion during wartime. He also stressed the Biden administration's stance that the U.S. would not support Israel and send weapons if Israel decides to go ahead with a full-scale invasion of Rafah. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
And marking well over 2 years since its invasion of Kyiv, the Kremlin now has new leaders heading its military mission against the people of Ukraine. Lee Seung-jae reports.
More than 2 years into the war in Ukraine, and with his fifth term in office just beginning, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Sunday that he's replacing his defense and security chiefs. The Russian president said that Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, who has led the Russian armed forces since 2012, will be replaced by Andrei Belousov. Belousov is an economist with no military experience, signaling that Putin is looking to change things up in the prolonged war. Shoigu, however, was appointed as the secretary of Moscow's Security Council, a consultative body that advises the Russian leader on military and strategic issues. On the other hand, Nikolai Patrushev was dismissed as Putin's intelligence chief, despite being widely considered as one of Putin's closest confidants. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov did not elaborate on the former intelligence chief's future, only saying that details will be announced in the coming days. Meanwhile, Russia continues its offensives in Kharkiv for the third day on Sunday, capturing 4 villages in the region, on top of the 5 taken by the Russian military the day before, with Ukraine struggling to defend against a recent Russian onslaught. The governor of Kharkiv says thousands of people have been evacuated from the northern region bordering Russia. Watchers say the latest barrage of attacks may be part of Russia's planned spring offensives. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Moving on to K-pop. K-pop's expanding popularity is not a new thing, but it is indeed notable to see how more and more K-pop artists are being invited to major music festivals around the world. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us who's going where and why it is so significant.
More and more K-pop artists are being invited to global music festivals abroad. Of course, it is not surprising to see major festivals asking K-pop acts to shine at the show, and we are indeed seeing more debuting at large-scale stadiums and festivals. Leading such a trend is 17, the 13-member act that is joining the lineup for this year's Glastonbury Festival in the UK. The 5-day festival is set to take place from June 26th to 30th, and 17 is booked for Glastonbury's Pyramid Stage, a first for a K-pop act in the festival's 50-year history. Lollapalooza Berlin is where K-pop fans can also enjoy a 17 performance as well, as the boy band has been invited to headline the festival slated for early September. 17 is not the only K-pop act that is having a chance to headline major music festivals. Stray Kids too will headline on Lollapalooza, this time in Chicago in August, for the second straight year after performing at Lollapalooza Paris last July, another first for a K-pop artist. For the Chicago version, K-pop girl groups IVE and Vicha are also invited to perform. Japan is not an exception. Summer Sonic in August is set to feature the largest number of K-pop acts in the Japanese music festival's history, with the lineup including IVE, NCT Dream, singer-songwriter duo AKMU, Zero Base One. Adding to that, TWICE and 17 are expected to hold a concert at Nissan Stadium, Japan's largest stadium with 75,000 seats, for the first time since TVXQ's concert there. An expert says such performances at music festivals can upgrade K-pop acts' live performance skills and their brands.
In South Korea, idols do more broadcast activities than concerts most of the time. But by headlining such global music festivals, they can upgrade themselves to become live performance artists on the global stage, adding more value to their own brands.
Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
In other news, what's called a Spaceout competition has taken place here in the capital, challenging participants to space out for 90 minutes in the most relaxed manner to claim victory. Our Yoon explains what this event is all about.
Do you ever want to just space out and do nothing for a while? Well, there is a place where people gather to do that and maybe even win a trophy. Seoul city government hosted the 10th Spaceout competition on Sunday at the Banpo Hangang Park.
I wanted to apply for this competition as this competition is very interesting to me. It underlines the importance of taking time for ourselves and relax and meditation.
This year, more than 2,700 teams applied to participate in the competition, and 80 individuals or teams of up to 3 members were selected. Participants spanning from celebrities to athletes were there to express their individuality, adding to the enjoyment of the competition.
We are bakers, so it's really hot in front of the oven. I found myself wanting to empty my mind.
After working so hard, I feel confident about spacing out.
As I've entered my 60s, I wanted to try new things and explore a variety of experiences. I don't necessarily have ambitions of winning first place. Instead, I'm cherishing it as a wonderful experience.
And with the bell ring to start the competition, each participant settled into their own comfortable state of spacing out. Surprisingly, the presence of a crowd didn't seem to disrupt their peaceful state of mind. To win, participants need to maintain a blank state by not moving or even thinking about anything for 90 minutes. Wristband heart rate monitors will check every 15 minutes. Visual artist Upsiang is the organizer of the event. She says the selection process for participants prioritizes the reasons for the application, while also wishing to bring together a diverse group of people in terms of age, gender, and occupation.
My wish is that everyone can collectively experience a moment of true relaxation during this unique occasion.
While some participants chose to withdraw midway, others demonstrated remarkable endurance. After the 90-minute Spaceout session, the winner was determined based on two factors. Firstly, participants' heart rate graphs were analyzed to measure relaxation levels. And secondly, through on-site voting by onlookers, who selected their favorite participant based on the stories that led them to apply. In the end, Kwon So-ah, a freelance broadcaster who previously worked as a reporter at Arirang, took the trophy.
I space out often, but it feels like my heart rate is around 150 beats per minute right now.
Even without a cash prize, people seem to enjoy the significance and meaning imparted by the event, because we all need to find moments of relaxation and peace amidst the hustle and bustle of our busy lives. Lee Eun-hee, Arirang News.
Today, the warm weather continued with clear skies across the country. This warm weather will continue until tomorrow. In the middle of the day, the sun will be stronger nationwide than it was today. You can continue to dress lightly during the day. However, since there are huge temperature gaps nationwide, please bring some outerwear on your way to work in the morning. In eastern areas of Gangwon-do province, the atmosphere is very dry. A dry weather advisory has been issued in this area, and the atmosphere will gradually dry up in other eastern regions as well. The wind is also blowing somewhat strongly, so there is a high risk of fires, such as wildfires. Please take extra precautions. Tomorrow's Seoul will start off at 13 degrees Celsius. Highs in Seoul will reach 25. Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Gwangju, 26 degrees. On Wednesday, there will be spring rain in the central parts of the country and Gyeongsang-Buk-do province. Some places in Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-Buk-do province will have rain until Thursday morning. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. Well, that is all for this newscast tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with the latest news at 9 a.m. with New Day at Arirang. Hope everyone has a great start to the week.
Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries.